Let me tell you something very simple but very real. In this world, the greatest mistake a leader can make is underestimating the future. The future is never decided by the strongest nation alone. It is decided by partnerships, by trust, and by vision. Why Trump can't afford to be tough on India anymore is not about politics, it's about reality. India is no longer just a country of 1 billion people, it is a country of 1 billion dreams, 1 billion opportunities, 1 billion chances to shape the world. You cannot ignore a nation that produces innovation at scale, that builds technology for the future, and that carries the youngest workforce on Earth. Think about this 10 years ago. India was called an emerging market. Today it is no longer emerging, it is rising. And tomorrow it will be leading. Any leader, no matter how powerful, cannot close the door on that rising force. Because when you close the door on India, you close the door on growth, on innovation, on possibility. In business, I learned one thing: never fight against the tide, because the tide is stronger than you. And right now, the tide is India. The market is shifting, the talent is shifting, the energy is shifting. America, China, Europe, all of them need India as a partner. And if you try to play tough, you don't make India weak, you make yourself weaker. The world has changed. Leaders cannot think like they did 30 years ago. You cannot control the future by force, you can only shape it by cooperation. Trump, or any leader, has no choice but to respect this. Because in the 21st century, the new power is not who controls oil or who controls weapons, but who controls innovation, who controls trust, who controls people's hearts. India is not perfect, no country is. But India has something unstoppable: belief, resilience, and youth. And that is why being tough on India is not just a political risk, it is an economic disaster. So remember this: when you look at the future, never look at today's size, look at tomorrow's potential. Don't ask, how big is India now? Ask, how big will India be in 10 years? And the answer is clear: too big, too strong, too important to be ignored. The future belongs to partnerships, not power. This is a truth that history has proven again and again, and yet, many leaders still fail to understand it. For centuries, nations believed that the measure of greatness was how much territory they conquered, how many weapons they owned, or how much fear they could inspire in others. But in the modern world, this way of thinking no longer works. We live in a time when the most successful people, the strongest companies, and the most influential nations are not those who intimidate or dominate, but those who build bridges, those who collaborate, those who understand that strength comes from connection. Think about the businesses that define our age. The most successful companies today are not those that work alone, but those that partner with others. Apple builds technology, but it partners with suppliers, with developers, with countries across the world. Alibaba grew because it partnered with millions of small businesses, empowering them to reach customers everywhere. Amazon connects sellers and buyers globally, creating opportunities for everyone. If they tried to do everything alone, they would never have become what they are. Their power does not come from controlling others, but from enabling others. The same rule applies to nations. A nation that isolates itself may appear powerful for a short time, but it will always lose in the long run. Why? Because the world today is interconnected in every way. Economies are connected, technologies are connected, people are connected. One nation's problem quickly becomes another's, and one nation's success benefits others. No country can afford to say, "We don't need anyone." That mindset is outdated. The future rewards leaders who can build partnerships that create value for everyone involved. This is where India becomes so important. India is not just another market or another country in the global system. It is a partner of the future. With its massive population, its young energy, and its growing innovation, India has something that every major power needs. America needs India's markets and talent. China needs India's cooperation to keep the region stable and prosperous. Europe needs India as a trading partner and a hub for technology. And India, in turn, also benefits from these partnerships. This mutual dependence is what makes the future stronger for everyone. A leader like Trump may think that being tough makes him look strong, but in reality, it makes him look short-sighted. Power today is not measured by how many countries you can pressure, but by how many partners you can keep. If you lose a partnership with India, you don't just lose trade, you lose influence, you lose trust, you lose a piece of the future. Leaders must understand that toughness does not mean isolation. Real toughness is having the wisdom to work with others, even when it is not easy. The 21st century is not an age of kings or conquerors, it is an age of collaborators. Technology has destroyed borders. A product designed in Bangalore can be sold in New York. A business in San Francisco can hire engineers from Mumbai, and a farmer in India can sell goods online to buyers in London. This is the reality of our world, and no leader can escape it. To fight against it is like fighting against the tide of the ocean. You may resist for a moment, but eventually the tide will always win. Partnership is the new power. It is the way forward for businesses, for nations, and for individuals. And those who understand this will not only survive, but thrive in the future. Those who cling to the old idea of power through force will slowly fade away. That is why the smartest choice for any leader is to embrace cooperation, to see opportunity in others, and to realize that the future belongs not to the strongest alone, but to the connected. India is a billion opportunities. This is not an exaggeration, it is the truth of today and the promise of tomorrow. When you look at India, you are not just looking at a country, you are looking at a vast ocean of possibilities, each wave representing a chance for growth, for innovation, and for transformation. Too often, people make the mistake of looking at India only through the lens of its challenges: poverty, inequality, infrastructure gaps. But they forget that every challenge is also an opportunity. And when you have a billion people working, dreaming, and striving, the scale of those opportunities becomes unimaginable. The first opportunity lies in the sheer size of India's population. With over 1.4 billion people, India is not only the most populous nation on earth, but also one of the youngest. More than 65% of its population is under the age of 35. That means energy, creativity, ambition, and hunger for success. A young population is like a fire. If you guide it, if you feed it with the right resources, it can light up the world. This is something every nation and every business leader must understand when you invest in India. You are not investing in today's market, you are investing in tomorrow's workforce, tomorrow's consumers, tomorrow's leaders. The second opportunity is in technology. India is already known as the tech capital of the world. From software development to artificial intelligence, from digital payments to space exploration, India has proven again and again that it can innovate on a global scale. Millions of engineers graduate every year, ready to build solutions for the future. Companies like Infosys, TCS, and Wipro were only the beginning. Now you see startups in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Delhi creating products that compete globally. Whether it is fintech, health tech, or e-commerce, India is moving fast. Any leader or business that ignores this movement is ignoring the beating heart of the world's future economy. The third opportunity is the market itself. India's middle class is expanding rapidly, creating one of the largest consumer bases in history. This middle class is hungry not only for products, but for quality, for global standards, for innovation. From smartphones to cars, from fashion to education, the demand is growing at a pace that no company can afford to overlook. When you have hundreds of millions of people entering the consumer economy, you are not just selling products, you are shaping lifestyles, and that means billions of dollars in opportunity. The fourth opportunity lies in resilience. India has faced challenges that would break many other nations. Economic slowdowns, political divisions, natural disasters. But time and again, it has shown the power to rise stronger. This resilience is built into the spirit of its people. Entrepreneurs in India know how to build with limited resources, families know how to stretch every rupee, students know how to learn against all odds. When you partner with such a nation, you are not just gaining access to a market, you are connecting with a spirit that refuses to quit. That spirit itself is an opportunity, because it guarantees that India will not stop moving forward. The fifth opportunity is global influence. With its growing economy and strategic position, India is no longer a follower, it is becoming a leader on the world stage. It is a voice in climate change discussions, a driver in global supply chains, and a partner in international security. As its influence expands, those who are connected with India will share in that influence. For nations and businesses alike, this means that being aligned with India is not just about profit, but about presence and power in the global arena. So, when you think of India, do not think of it as a developing nation waiting to catch up. Think of it as a billion seeds, each one carrying the potential to become a forest. Some will grow into global companies, some will create social change, some will shape culture, some will lead the next wave of science and technology. Together, they represent an unstoppable force of opportunity. That is why being tough on India is a mistake. You cannot shut the door on a billion opportunities without shutting the door on your own future. The smart choice is to open the door wider, to step in, to partner, and to grow together. Because the truth is clear in this century, India is not just a country to watch, it is a country to join. And those who understand this will not only benefit, they will be part of shaping history. Never fight against the tide. This is one of the most important lessons in life, business, and leadership. The tide is bigger than you, stronger than you, and beyond your control. You may resist it for a moment, but eventually it will sweep you along with its power. The question is not whether the tide will win. The question is whether you will flow with it or fight against it and lose. Today, the tide is India, and anyone who tries to stand against that tide will find themselves weaker, not stronger. When you look at history, you will see many examples of leaders and empires that believed they could resist change. They thought their strength, their size, their power was enough to stop the movement of the world. But every one of them eventually fell, because no one can fight against time, no one can fight against progress, no one can fight against the tide. The tide is the natural flow of the future, and the smartest leaders are those who learn to move with it, not against it. India represents such a tide in the 21st century. It is a rising power not because someone gave it permission, but because it has built itself from within. Its young population, its booming digital economy, its growing influence on global affairs, these are not small waves, these are tidal waves. When 600 million young people are ready to work, to innovate, and to consume, that is a force no leader can suppress. When an economy is growing faster than most others, that is a tide too powerful to ignore. To fight against it is like trying to stop the sunrise. You cannot. The danger of fighting the tide is not just that you fail, but that you miss the opportunity to ride it. Imagine a surfer on the ocean. If he fights against the wave, he is knocked down, exhausted, defeated. But if he rides the wave, the same force that could destroy him now carries him forward, faster and further than he could ever go alone. This is the choice world leaders face with India. Do you fight against its rise and risk being drowned? Or do you ride with it and let its energy carry you to a new future? Business leaders already understand this. Look at global tech giants, Google, Amazon, Apple. They are not ignoring India. They are rushing to invest in it. Why? Because they know this tide will define the next 50 years of global business. They know that millions of consumers entering the digital economy every year means endless possibilities. They know that talent coming out of Indian universities is not just cheap labor, but smart, innovative, world-class problem solvers. These companies are not fighting the tide, they are surfing it. Politicians, however, sometimes fail to see this. They think being tough makes them look strong. But toughness against a tide does not prove strength, it only proves blindness. Real strength is knowing when to adapt, when to shift, when to use the power of the tide to your advantage. A leader who chooses to cooperate with India will benefit from its growth, from its innovation, from its youth. A leader who chooses to resist will only isolate himself, cut off from the fastest growing source of progress in the world. And this lesson is not just about nations, it applies to individuals as well. Every person has to decide whether they will spend their energy fighting against change, or whether they will move with it. The digital revolution, artificial intelligence, green energy, these are tides sweeping across the world. You can resist them and cling to the old ways, but you will only be left behind. Or you can embrace them, learn from them, and let them carry you forward. India's rise is one of these tides. Those who embrace it will grow, those who resist will fall. Never fight against the tide. It is wiser to ride with it, to learn from it, to use its power for your journey. India is not asking for permission to rise, it is rising. And the smartest thing anyone can do, whether a world leader, a business, or an individual, is to recognize that tide, respect it, and ride with it. Because the tide is always stronger than you. The tide is the future. And today, the tide's name is India. Innovation is the new power. In the past, power was measured by armies, by land, by gold, or by oil. Nations fought wars over territory and resources because whoever controlled them controlled the world. But today, we are living in a completely different reality. In the 21st century, power does not come from how many weapons you hold or how much land you own. Power comes from ideas, from technology, from the ability to innovate. The nations, the businesses, and the individuals who can create new solutions, who can build new systems, who can adapt faster than others. Those are the ones who hold the true power. Think about it carefully. The richest companies in the world today are not oil companies, not factories, not landowners. They are technology companies. Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Alibaba, Tesla, they became giants not because they had the biggest armies or the most land, but because they had the biggest ideas. They innovated. They solved problems in ways no one else had done before. They changed how people lived, how they worked, how they communicated, and how they did business. Innovation gave them power greater than governments and armies. Now look at India through this lens. India is not building its future on weapons or territory. India is building its future on innovation. From digital payments to space exploration, from health technology to artificial intelligence, India is producing breakthroughs that matter not only to its own people, but to the world. India created one of the most successful digital payment systems in the world. UPI. That is faster, cheaper, and more efficient than systems used in many developed nations. India built its own space program, launching satellites at a fraction of the cost of others. India produces millions of software engineers every year, fueling global tech companies and startups alike. This is the foundation of power in today's world. And what is innovation at its core? It is the courage to think differently. It is the ability to see a problem and say, there must be a better way. This is something deeply rooted in India's culture. The resourcefulness, the creativity, the resilience of its people naturally push them to find solutions even in the hardest conditions. When you have 1 billion people solving problems every day, Whether in villages, cities, classrooms, or labs, you have 1 billion chances for innovation. This makes India not only a nation of consumers, but a nation of creators. This is why no leader can afford to be tough on India. To isolate India is to isolate innovation. It is to cut yourself off from one of the greatest sources of ideas, talent, and solutions in the world today. The leaders who understand this will embrace India not as a competitor to crush, but as a partner to grow with. Because in this era, you don't win by having the strongest army, you win by having the strongest ecosystem of ideas. Innovation is also the equalizer. A small startup can challenge a giant corporation if it has a better idea. A young student in Bangalore can create an app that changes lives around the world. A scientist in Delhi can make a discovery that benefits millions. This is the beauty of innovation. It does not care about your size, it cares about your creativity. That is why India's rise is unstoppable. Its people, especially its youth, are not waiting for permission from the world to innovate. They are already doing it. For any country, ignoring this is a mistake. Power has shifted. It is no longer about who can fight the biggest wars, but who can solve the biggest problems. Climate change, healthcare, education, poverty, and India is stepping into that arena with strength. The leaders and nations who recognize this will secure their place in the future. Those who do not will slowly fade into irrelevance. Innovation is the new power, and India has it. It is not just building products, it is building possibilities. And in a world where the future belongs to those who innovate, India is no longer a follower. It is becoming a leader. Anyone who tries to be tough on India is not just being tough on a nation, they are being tough on the very future of innovation itself. India's youth is unstoppable. This is one of the greatest realities of our time, and it is also one of the greatest forces shaping the future of the world. When you look at India, you are not just seeing a country with a large population, you are seeing a country filled with young people who are hungry, ambitious, and determined to make their mark on the world. More than 65% of India's population is under the age of 35. That means hundreds of millions of people full of energy, creativity, and resilience. No nation with that kind of youth force can be ignored. And no leader who understands the future can afford to be tough on such a nation. The strength of India's youth lies first in their belief. This is a generation that is not satisfied with waiting for opportunities. They want to create them. They are not afraid to dream big, even when the world tells them it is impossible. Whether in technology, business, arts, or social change, young Indians are showing the courage to imagine something new. This belief, this refusal to accept limits, is what makes them unstoppable. A young student in a small town today believes that he can build a global startup tomorrow. A young girl in a rural village believes that she can become a leader, a doctor, or a scientist. When belief is strong, action always follows. The second strength is resilience. India's youth grow up in a world of challenges. Competition for jobs, limited resources, social pressures. But instead of breaking them, these challenges shape them. They learn how to survive, how to adapt, how to fight for what they want. They do not give up easily. This resilience is an incredible advantage because in the modern world, success does not go to the strongest or the richest. It goes to those who can endure, those who can adapt when the world changes. And India's youth are masters of adaptation. They are used to finding solutions with limited resources, and that skill makes them powerful innovators. The third strength is skill. Every year, millions of young Indians graduate from universities, many of them in engineering, technology, and science. They are not just dreamers, they are doers. They have the knowledge, the creativity, and the drive to build solutions for global problems. Already, Indian talent has shaped some of the biggest companies in the world. CEOs of Google, Microsoft, Adobe, and many other global giants come from India. This is no coincidence. It is the result of a deep pool of talent that continues to grow every year. But the power of India's youth is not just in what they are doing today, it is in what they will do tomorrow. Imagine 10 years from now, when these millions of young people are leaders, entrepreneurs, scientists, and policymakers. Imagine the wave of innovation, the wave of businesses, the wave of ideas that will come out of India. No leader can afford to be blind to this. To be tough on India today is to isolate yourself from the very people who will shape tomorrow's world. This unstoppable youth force also means that India has something many other countries lack: hope. In many developed nations, populations are aging and the energy of youth is declining. But in India, the opposite is true. Its young population is growing, learning, and becoming more confident. This is why the future belongs to India. You cannot stop a country that has both the belief and the youth to build something greater than themselves. India's youth are not just the strength of their own nation. They are the strength of the world. They are working in Silicon Valley, in London, in Dubai, in Singapore. They are contributing everywhere. To fight against them is to fight against progress itself. The wise choice is not to challenge them, but to empower them, to partner with them, to grow with them. This is why the rise of India is unstoppable. Because when you have hundreds of millions of young people believing, dreaming, working, and creating, no obstacle is strong enough to stop them. This is why India's youth are not just the future of their own country. They are the future of the world. And anyone who tries to be tough on them will only be crushed by the unstoppable force of their determination. Tomorrow's potential is greater than today's size. This is one of the most powerful truths about growth, and it is the reason why the leaders of tomorrow are not the ones who only look at what exists today, but the ones who can see what is coming tomorrow. Too many people, too many companies, and too many nations make the mistake of judging by the present moment. They look at how much money a country has today, how much power it holds today, how many resources it controls today. But the future does not belong to those who are already at the top. It belongs to those who are climbing, those who are rising, those who are building momentum. And that is exactly why no leader can afford to be tough on India. Because India's potential tomorrow will be far greater than its size today. Think of it like this. A small seed in your hand does not look powerful. It looks fragile, insignificant. But if you plant it, feed it, and give it time, it becomes a giant tree that gives shade, fruit, and shelter for generations. If you only judge the seed by its size today, you will miss its true value. India is that seed. Yes, it still has challenges, poverty, inequality, infrastructure gaps, but inside it lies enormous potential. In 10 years, in 20 years, that potential will transform into influence, innovation, and leadership that cannot be ignored. The smartest people are those who see the tree in the seed, who see tomorrow inside today. Right now, India is already one of the fastest growing major economies. Its middle class is expanding at a historic pace, its digital economy is skyrocketing, and its youth are stepping into leadership roles in business, science, and politics. But this is only the beginning. What is happening today is like the first chapter of a long book. The real story is still being written, and anyone who shuts the door on India now will regret it later when that story turns into one of the greatest success stories of the century. This lesson applies not only to nations but also to business. The biggest companies in the world today were once small startups. Apple was 2 guys in a garage. Alibaba was built in a small apartment. Amazon started with just selling books. If you judge them by their size at the beginning, you would never believe they could change the world. But someone saw their potential. Someone believed in what they could become. And that belief created trillion-dollar companies. India today is like those startups, already impressive, but nowhere near its full potential. It is rising, it is learning, it is growing, and one day soon, it will be leading. This is why leaders must be careful. Being tough on India now might look like strength, but it is actually weakness. It shows blindness to the future. Because the truth is simple, India's tomorrow will be too big, too strong, and too influential to ignore. Those who choose to build partnerships today will share in that success tomorrow. Those who choose to push India away will find themselves outside the circle of growth, isolated from the new centers of power. And this is not just about economics. Tomorrow's potential also means cultural influence, innovation, and global leadership. Indian films, music, food, and ideas are already spreading across the world. Its technology is reaching billions of people. Its leaders are shaping global discussions on climate, health, and security. These are seeds of influence that will only grow stronger in the years to come. The lesson is clear. Never judge the future by the size of today. If you want to succeed, you must learn to see what others cannot see yet. You must train your eyes to look beyond the present, to imagine what is possible. This is how you find opportunities before the world finds them. This is how you win. And when it comes to India, the opportunity is massive. Its tomorrow will redefine the balance of the world. India's potential is greater than its present. Its rise is unstoppable. And the leaders who see this truth today will be the ones who stand at the top tomorrow. Those who ignore it will be left behind, wondering how they missed the chance to ride the greatest wave of the century. Tomorrow's potential is always greater than today's size, and India is the living proof of that.